Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the November 17th, 2021 Bospanis City Council meeting. Our City Council chambers remain closed to the public in accordance with Assembly Bill 361. All members of the City Council and City staff will join the meeting via phone, video conference, and no teleconference locations are required. Following alternatives are available to members of the public who wish to watch the meeting and or provide comments to the City Council before and during the meeting. Audio-video broadcast. The City Council meeting can be accessed in real time from your computer, your tablet, or your smartphone. The following links, cable Comcast 96, watch it on YouTube, and you can join and participate in the meeting. Go to the city's website, public meetings, and you can get the Zoom codes to log in. You can also log in by phone. How to comment during a public meeting. Public comments will be taken at the time of each eligible agenda item. If you would like to submit written comments, please submit them by email to cityclerk@losbanos.org or drop them off at City Hall, 520 J Street. If you're a Zoom video conference recipient, to comment by Zoom video conference, use the raise your hand button to request to speak when public comment is being taken on an eligible agenda item. You will then be unmuted during your turn and allowed to make public comments. After the allotted time, you will then be remuted. If you are a phone participant, to comment by phone, please call the above numbers. You will be prompted to raise your hand by pressing *9 to request to speak when public comment is being taken on an eligible agenda item. You will then be unmuted during your turn and allowed to make public comments. Then press *6 to unmute yourself in order to speak. After the allotted time, you will then be remuted. Important things to remember during your public comment period. All attendees shall be muted upon entry into the meeting. Please do not raise your hand if the item currently being heard is not the item you wish to speak on. We will call for public testimony on each item individually. When the item you are interested in is called and public speakers are invited to raise their hands, raise yours then, and we will call them in order that they are raised. You may, of course, speak on multiple items, but your comments during each item must address the item currently under discussion. Speakers attempting to speak about items other than the item currently under consideration will be muted and asked to wait for the item they're here to speak about to be called. And now we will go to our invocation. We'll go to Pastor Mike New, St. John's Lutheran Church. Pastor New. There he is. You are muted, Pastor. Mike, you're muted. There you go.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, first time on this phone.
Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, council members, let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for all that you have given us and that to come still. We thank you for the crops of our fields, the wildlife of our refuges, and that of our fellow man. Next week, we celebrate a day of Thanksgiving, but every day should be a day of Thanksgiving. We ask you to see your people suffer and relieve us of this pandemic and the drought that inflicts our land. Your servant Paul wrote in his epistle to the Romans that government authority comes from you. Give the people doing the business of this city the wisdom to act on your behalf, acting in the best interest of your people. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. We'll now call the meeting to order at 6:05 p.m. and we will ask Police Chief Breezy to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mayor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My chair got stuck. There we go. Thank you, Chief. Powerful words always. Now we'll go to the roll call. Ms. Maloney?
Jones,
Present.
Lambert,
Here.
Lewis. Here. Lamas,
Here.
Faria.
Here. We have a quorum. Next, we will go to consideration approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Mayor, Councilmember Lambert, make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Mayor Yamas here. I'll second that.
Thank you. I have a motion by Councilmember Lambert, second by Councilmember Yamas to approve the agenda as submitted. Ms. Maloney, roll call, please.
Jones,
Yes.
Lambert,
Yes.
Lewis. Yes. Lamas,
Yes.
Faria.
Yes. Motion carried unanimously. Agenda has been approved. I'm looking here to see if Fire Engineer Minor is on. I don't see him online. There he is. He's in Chief Hurley's Zoom. Welcome, Mr. Minor. What a pleasure not a pleasure to see you retire. We hate to lose you, but it's a pleasure to read the proclamation in your honor. Proclamation recognizing the retirement of City of Bospanis Fire Engineer Frank Mike Minor. Whereas Frank Mike Minor became a member of the Los Banos Volunteer Fire Department on June 9, 1998, and whereas Frank Mike Minor was hired as a full-time firefighter by the City of Los Banos on July 1st, 2005, and was promoted to the rank of fire engineer on October 1st, 2021. And whereas Frank Mike Minor has contributed tremendously throughout his career to the community of Los Banos through his knowledge and commitment to his job. And whereas Frank Mike Minor retired from the City of Los Banos as a fire engineer on October 21st, 2021, with 16 years of service as a full-time city employee. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the mayor and city council members of the City of Los Banos do hereby commend Frank Mike Minor on his dedication and loyalty to the City of Los Banos and congratulate him on his retirement. Be it further proclaimed that this proclamation was presented to Frank Mike Minor at the City Council meeting held on November the 17th, 2021. I'd like to say a few words, Mike.
Yes. Mayor, council members, thank you very much. I was very blessed and humbled to have the best job ever, and it was an honor to serve the citizens of Los Banos and just to have a fulfilling career. And I was really happy. Thank you very much.
And thank you for your service. Great benefit to our city, and it is a loss, but we do appreciate and congratulate your chance to get some retirement time. So thank you for joining us tonight as well.
Thank you very much.
Now we will go to the public forum. Members of the public may address the city council members on any item of public interest that is within the jurisdiction of the city council. This includes agenda and non-agenda items. No action will be taken on non-agenda items. Speakers are limited to a 5-minute presentation. Detailed guidelines on how to participate and make comments are listed on pages 1 and 2 of this agenda. Comments received prior to the meeting will be read into the record at the appropriate time during the city council meeting. Ms. Maloney, do we have any public forum comments this evening?
I have received no comments by email, but I'm not so sure, since we have guests online, if they would like to speak during the public forum.
Very good. Anyone who would like to speak, if you would use the raise your hand feature. I see Supervisor Silvera.
Am I good, Lucy? I unmuted myself. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Trying to get back in the swing of things, and just wanted to come. I know that you guys got an important item coming up here, something that's been talked about for a while, and then just noticing on the Zoom, you even got the old mayor who's watching you guys tonight. So that's pretty cool. But just wanted to say hello and really trying to get back in the swing of things. And just want to say hello. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. We appreciate all you're doing there for us at the county. Now we'll go to Mayor Mike Villalta. Oh, you're muted, Mike.
How's that?
Gotcha.
Oh, it's so good to see all of you, and welcome Kenneth and Refugio. Hi, Deborah and Brett. Where are you? and God, all the staff and Tom. I miss all of you so much. But I want to keep this short. I'd like to speak just a few brief comments on item 8 at the appropriate time, if that's okay.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see no further hands raised. Do we have any other comments, Ms. Maloney?
I don't see any other hands raised either, and I have no more comments by email.
All right. We will close the public forum. Move on to consideration of approval of the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be voted on in one motion, unless removed from the consent agenda by a city council member. And for our consent agenda this evening, we will go to Ms. Maloney.
Items on the consent agenda are as follows. Warrant numbers 229558 through 229817 in the amount of $746,292.21. Minutes for the November 3rd, 2021 City Council meeting. City Council Resolution number 6422, authorizing the mayor of Bospanis to enter into a memorandum of understanding for the Merced County Operational Area Technical Rescue Team. City Council Resolution number 6423, amending Division 4 Salary Schedule Employee Classifications relating to changes to Section C, Community and Economic Development, and amending the budget as it pertains to expenditures for fiscal year 2021-2022. City Council Resolution number 6424, reauthorizing remote teleconferencing meetings and the legislative bodies of the City of Bospanis pursuant to the provisions of AB 361, and the items are to be approved as submitted.
Thank you, Ms. Maloney. I'll go through council, see if any council members would like any items pulled for discussion or a separate vote. Mr. Jones?
No items, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Lambert?
No items, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Lewis?
No items, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Yamas?
No items, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I have no items to pull, so Chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Lewis, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Mayor, Councilmember Lambert, second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Lewis and a second by Councilmember Lambert to approve the consent agenda as submitted. Ms. Maloney, roll call, please.
Jones?
Yes.
Lambert?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Lamas?
Yes.
Faria?
Yes. Motion carried unanimously. Consent agenda has been approved. Now we're going to move on to item 8. Actually, one of those items that we really like to talk about. We love celebrating the history of Bospanis and all its beauty and glory. So for that, we will go to Community and Economic Development Director Elm.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, this is an exciting item. So with this item, staff is seeking direction from the City Council to work with the Milliken Museum, water agencies, and project partners to develop a concept to utilize the northwest corner of 7th Street and H Street for the development of a new Milliken Museum and water agency office. The Milliken Museum Society of Bospanis, the San Joaquin River Exchange Contractors Water Authority, the San Luis and Delta Mendota Water Authority and heirs of the Henry Miller family have joined together as project partners, and they have developed a project for that northwest corner of 7th and H Street in the city of Los Banos. The project concept is for the development of a 2-story museum on the first floor and a water agency office complex on the second floor. The vision of the project is to develop a civic campus that melds into the Henry Miller Plaza and the community center. So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Dan Nelson from the Milliken Museum, and he can introduce the folks that are on the Zoom tonight as a part of the project team.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Nelson.
And Sonia, we have a PowerPoint presentation with this one.
Okay, very good.
Well, thank you, Mayor, City Council, and staff providing this opportunity to let us introduce to you the new Milliken Museum of Los Banos and the Water Agency Office Complex project. You know, several years ago, the City of Los Banos and the Downtown Association, I believe, adopted the motto of historic Los Banos, and rightfully so. Los Banos should be known for its colorful, interesting, and unique history. We're really fortunate to have the forefathers and mothers that had the foresight to document and archive that history. Folks like Ralph Milliken, the Kuhn family, Marshall Jose, Alvy Souza, June Areca, Charles Sawyers, and hundreds of volunteers over the decades, too numerous to name. As a result of that work, we're incredibly blessed and positioned well to tell the unique story of Los Banos history and to preserve that history for generations to come. Could we go to the next slide, please? It became apparent a good 10, 15 years ago, it became apparent to the caretakers of Los Banos history that to adequately tell the story of Los Banos' history and to adequately preserve and exhibit our archives, that we need some more space. And this effort was energized by the support of the Henry Miller heirs, along the lines of Bowles and the Nichols family. We collaborated with both the City of Los Banos and Merced County on the development of the project, and with the support from the past mayor of Hualta and Community and Economic Development Director Stacy Souza Elms. And a tremendous amount of effort and homework has resulted to get us where we are today, and we're ready to go. As I said, this effort began some time ago, but the project was held up with the dissolution of the State of California Redevelopment Agency and put the ownership of that land, you know, in the hands of the State of California. Little did we know it was going to take several years for, you know, for that issue to be resolved, but here we are. But during this holdup, we kept working on the concept of the project, and a partnership evolved. And it evolved with a couple of local water agencies that were looking to build some new offices. And it's just a perfect fit because the history of the west side of the San Joaquin Valley was driven by water and irrigation development beginning in the 1870s with Henry Miller himself. And that continued on, of course, with the construction of the Delta Mendota Canal through this region, and ultimately the construction of San Luis Reservoir, which changed fundamentally the nature of Los Banos. Next slide, please. As a quick introduction to those project partners, we have the Milliken Museum Society. The Museum Society is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and it administrates and funds the Milliken Museum. The San Joaquin River Exchange Contractors Water Authority and the San Luis and Delta Mendota Water Authorities are two West Side regional water authorities that are based out of Los Banos. Chris White is representing the Exchange Contractor Authority this evening, and Federico Barajas is with the San Luis and Delta Mendota Water Authority. The Nickel and Bowles family, the heirs of Henry Miller, and I believe Jim Nichols might be on this evening, and he's the great-great-grandson of Henry Miller. I just want to note, this is a really solid partnership. This is a good group of agencies and good group of leaders in the region, and these agencies have history in getting things done, and it's a really good partnership. Next slide, please. It was a little over a year ago that we got a heads up that the redevelopment agency was actually coming to closure on its process of transferring that land over to the city of Bospanis. And so we had talked about developing a request for proposal for the initial design, over the course of the last 3-4 years, but we dusted off that RFP and worked with the city of Bospanis and the water agencies and honed that request for proposal for preliminary design and engineering for the project. And we released that RFP on January 6th, and we got an amazing response, just really top-notch architects from throughout the state. And so we went through a very thorough vetting process assisted by city staff, and that included final interviews, and we chose BAR Architects, and Earl Wilson is with us this evening to represent them, and Jones & Jones Architects, and Mario Campos is online to represent them. And I'm gonna let them give a little bit of background on themselves, and we'll want to go to slide 6. Earl?
Thank you, Dan, and Mayor, council members, and all present. It's a pleasure to introduce myself and our firm, and to be in front of you this evening. My name is Earl Wilson, and I'm a principal with BAR Architects in San Francisco. BAR Architects is a 75-person firm based in San Francisco with an office in LA. Most of our work is in California and includes, I think there's a next slide that might show some of that. It includes projects like the El Capitan Hotel in Merced in the upper right-hand corner, dining commons at UC Merced, which is the center lower photograph, buildings at UC Davis, the two on the right, an archive at Skywalker Ranch, various buildings at the Presidio, a gallery in Palo Alto. But we've teamed with Jones & Jones Architects and Mario Campos, who bring special expertise with community-oriented museums like the one here in Los Banos. And so we formed a team, and I'd like to introduce Mario now. Do we have Mario on the phone or on the line?
Does not look like he's on the meeting.
Well, I'll go ahead then and simply, if we could go to the next slide, we'll show some of their projects, and I won't go into detail on these, but basically, Jones & Jones has a history of both site planning and landscape design, which we think is uniquely appropriate to this particular site, as well as expertise in the programming and design of museums, small community museums like the one here in Los Banos. Thank you.
Thank you, Earl. I just want to add that we went through a process assisted, like I say, by Stacy, and we part of that process was identifying the proposal that we thought was the best proposal, notwithstanding the price quotes, and it was unanimous of Bar Architects on their proposal, and then to find that they were also the lowest bidder as well, just complemented that whole thing. So we really do feel that the RFP process was a very successful process, and we've enjoyed getting to know Earl and Mario, and have done some initial legwork with them, and we appreciate what they've done today. We're going to go over some preliminary work, and I'll introduce Chris White, the Executive Director of the San Joaquin River Exchange Contractors Authority, and we'll go to the next slide for Chris.
Thank you, Dan. That's a bigger mouthful than CCID, the San Joaquin River Exchange.
It is.
So I would display some of our work. Both Federico and I head up organizations that do a lot of construction, but you're not interested in seeing a reinforced concrete weir or pipeline, for sure. But I will say this: the perfect fit for us to be involved in a project. We have spent, Federico and I, between our agencies, spent a large proportion of our time defending water rights and water supply into this area, not only for this community, but for the surrounding agricultural areas. We are where we're at because of the history of this area and the Miller Lux history and the history of the formation of the CVP. So it's a great fit for us to be associated with a building or a facility or an office structure that has the museum with it. One of the things that we did when these properties became available and we were looking, we realized that this corner lot here, and we've shaded the area there that we initially looked at and was very attractive for us for a couple of reasons. One, just feels like an opportunity for us to meld something in with the Henry Miller Park. And there's some, there's a lot of opportunity there. Not only that, but with the community center in that area. So that was how what led us to the site, what really started us looking and investigating it. We think it's a perfect location for us. Next slide, please. So this is just a rendering. This is an idea. We have no more than an idea. This is not cooked in any way, other than to say that when we started working on this, one of the questions that came up was, well, you've got a need for 30 or less parking spaces there for day-to-day on site. So can you accommodate those kinds of parking with a 10,000 square foot footprint? So Earl and his crew cranked out about 6 or so just test sites, test plots, where we've sited the building all over the place in here with a 10,000 square foot footprint, just to see what kind of parking we can get. And you can see here on this one, the test site, we got 40 spots, no problem, in that area. And then, of course, for events, maybe board meetings, which occur one per month for each of the entities, we would probably need some overflow parking. So we worked with the city staff in order to determine what areas nearby could we cooperate and build some overflow parking that would have dual use, perhaps. Our thinking is perhaps use for the museum and for the water districts, but also for use for whatever functions are occurring at the community center as well. So you can see we looked here to the northwest, an overflow parking there that's oiled, it's not paved. And there's another potential, which is a little less preferred from our perspective because it's across the road to the northeast. So that's the preliminary site diagram and some test plots that we went through. Next slide, please. So that preliminary site diagram, again, it's just a test fit. There's no level of thinking yet on layout. We anticipate going through, if we're allowed to go through a process with the city and with staff and with the community on development of something here that could be really exciting. It's a multi-level facility, 10,000 square foot footprint. We're anticipating the museum on the ground floor and the office agencies upstairs on the second floor. The We're hoping that the architectural design will be consistent, but I mean, really stressing complementary to the community center and also highlighting the Henry Miller Plaza area. And we believe it's an exciting opportunity to tie together and blend the community center, the Henry Miller Plaza into one continuous area in that area. And it fills that hole right there at the corner, which is kind of the next place really you would think about along the corridor. Next slide, please. Do I have a next slide?
Yes.
Yeah.
Issues to address?
Yes. So issues to address. We have options that show the configuration of the building and what might work there, show that we can have enough parking and enough landscape on site. Okay, we can do that. We got some on-site parking. Our preferred site for overflow parking would be to the northwest, because it really does tie better to the community, or to the community center, and to the Henry Miller Park as well. And we just feel like it's a better fit, but that's our preferred area. And as I said earlier, there's a little overflow parking available on the other side of 7th Street, G at 7th. And we're hoping that the landscaping, we can work this out, and just looking at it, that would be a good fit for us also to meld the landscaping in together with the community center and the Henry Miller Plaza. So that's our idea. We've got a really good idea, and we want to work with the city on this. And Dan, I'll turn it over to you from there.
Thanks, Chris. In conclusion, we sincerely believe that this project's going to be a major attribute for the city and will act as a foundation and a really good example for future development on the rail corridor. We understand that there's a lot of hurdles to go over with such a project, but we're looking at taking the action tonight to move forward with the next phase of the development of the project, and that is to direct staff to work with us on, and our architects, and collaboration with the county and the city to develop an initial design and engineering for the project. And also, we would like to start to work with staff and legal counsel to draft a parcel transfer agreement for your ultimate consideration. I think you can tell there's been a lot of thought and homework that's been done on this project, and it's really safe to say that the project partners are really excited about this project. We're well positioned, and we're biting at the bit to enter into the next phase with the city of Bospanis. And sincerely, thank you very much for this opportunity tonight to introduce this project. And Mr. Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Before I go to council, I'll go out to, we have some public comment there. Mayor Villalta's hand was up first.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. You know, we presented, the last council had a project list of a number of important projects that we've been working on for years, and this was one of them, is at the top of the list. And staff has been working very hard on this to make sure that in some way it comes to fruition. And tonight is the first step towards a wonderful project, and not only an infill project, but something that's going to coordinate with Henry Miller Plaza and just be a real benefit to the city. So I hope this goes forward. I hope it goes forward as quickly as possible. And I just want to thank you so much for continuing this council with continuing with this work and making it happen. And before I leave for the night, I just have to say hi to Stacy and Sonia and Lucy and Gary and Mason and Bill and Scott, the people that were important in my life during my time as mayor of Los Banos, and the council past and present. So thank you. I have nothing more to say other than thank you for going forward with this project.
Thank you, Mike. And then we'll go to Supervisor Silvera.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I just want to, basically, I want to speak in favor of this project. It just kind of highlights the council some of the things that, you know, not only are we given a great place for just such a piece of history in Las Banos that holds the history of Las Banos, but when we talk about that relationship with the water agencies, one of the things that I don't think that we talk about enough is these groups, whether it's the water authority or the exchange contractors, having a facility like that, what does that bring to Las Banos? High-level meetings that brings congressmen, U.S. senators, secretaries of agriculture. These are just in the recent, you know, with water being at the forefront of issues that we face here in the valley, it brings those folks, instead of having to put them in an offsite location, you're bringing them right down to you know, kind of the jewel of our downtown area there with Henry Miller Plaza, our community center. So I just wanted to add that to it, that this project, there's a lot of good people that have been working on it, and you know, it's conceptual, and they don't know exactly how it's going to look. But I just want to encourage the council to consider moving forward with this project and realize that you're not only getting the daily use, but it's all the things that you get to highlight Las Banos, getting these outside folks. And then when we go back to DC or Sacramento to try to get our share of the revenues that they collect from us and bring it back to our area, it kind of gives them a really cool place, a really nice place that they can remember us by. So again, I'm fully in support of this project. I know that it took us some time to wind through the RDA process. I know the former mayor was on that same committee as I, and trying to get these properties untangled from the old RDA and get them back to where, you know, the ones that are for beneficial use for local government and the ones that are for sale, and there's just all kinds of stuff that had to go on with that. But I'm proud to be part of that work and really proud to throw my support behind this project. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Scott. Very good. I don't see any other hands raised out in the public, so I'll go through council for comment and maybe ideas for direction. Mr. Jones?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I do have a question, Mr. Nelson. I'm in favor of this project, and I'm just curious on how soon you guys can start construction on it. I do like that you guys incorporated and thought about parking in here. That's always going to be an issue, and I'm glad that you guys have thought about that in advance. And yeah, I'm just curious on when you guys are able to start.
Well, we've already initiated a tunnel between there and Wool Growers. We thought that might be a priority, so that has been initiated. No, it'll take 4 or 5 months for us to, once we enter into the contract, and we're hoping to do it right after, if there is direction from the council for the staff to work with us on the development of this plan, we'll immediately get working with our architects. And my understanding, Earl, is the initial design would take about 5 months, and then that would at that point we'd go out and bid the project. And it's going to be a couple of years before the completion of the project. But like I say, I think the partners are ready to work with the city and the county to do this as quickly as we possibly can. We've been wanting to get on with this for some time. So I can assure you we're committed to get it done as quickly as we can, Brett.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate the partners coming in on this. I think this is going to be a big asset to the community, and especially that corner. It's going to help bolster the development for the rest of the rail trail as well. So I'm really looking forward to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Lambert?
Well, excellent presentation. I appreciate it. And I'm definitely for this project also. I'm excited to see it come together. I also wanted to say hi to everyone else that put in their words on this also. That's all I have. Thanks, man.
Thank you very much. Ms. Lewis?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, Dan and Chris, it's good to see you both on screen tonight. Chris, it's been a while since I've seen you, and I'm glad that one of the organizations the one that you're heading up is going to be a part of this. It's an excellent project at the corner of H and 7th Street, and it's also an indication that the rest of our plaza can have wonderful businesses along there to enhance our city. I think the only thing that I would like to say is also to consider, you know, the possibility of the overflow parking on the northeast corner of 7th Street, because there may be at times where the community center may have a big event, and that overflow parking there is used for the community center. So if you guys simultaneously have something, it might be a good idea to have a secondary overflow just in case, so that you have enough accommodations for people who will come to your building. But other than that, I think it's a wonderful project, and I look forward to seeing it come as quickly as possible to Los Banos. Thank you for bringing it forward. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Mr. Llamas?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, presenters. Very good presentation. I appreciate the time. It's good to see you, Mr. Valta. Good to see you. Looks you're healthy, and that's good to know. A project like this is very important for any community. It helps the current generation to understand the hardships, the history, and how we got here today. So I think it's very important for the character of our town. So I'm very excited for this project. So thank you very much for bringing it to this place in time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Llamas. And of course, I too have been very supportive of this idea since its inception. Mr. Vaughn, we spoke many hours. Mr. Vaughn and I worked. Mr. Vaughn spent many hours getting this RDA DLA wound down. And we want to express our appreciation for that, because that's what's made this possible. We kind of had to nudge the DLA along, but they've really moved these last few months. We've got a whole bunch of property back from them, and this is a great example of what a benefit that's going to be. The history of Los Banos is near and dear to my heart. Henry Miller brought water and brought modern agriculture to the entire region, and I think any opportunity to highlight that. As a teacher, a museum is always a great benefit. Students are enlightened and inspired by these sorts of things. Our downtown area is going to be beautified and highlighted, and the connection between the plaza and the community center, I think, is brilliant, and also ties to the rail trail. So it really, it's a very prominent corner. And yes, Supervisor Silvera, we know that your job and so many jobs at the county level is how much is constantly working to bring those dollars here. And we know how hard you guys work, and this is going to help do that too. So I think it's a win-win-win-win-win-win situation, and I throw my support behind it wholeheartedly. Anyone else have any comment on the item? If so, if you want to raise your hand. If not, then we'll express our appreciation to all the partners, water and museum and architects, and close the item and move forward.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
Is staff asking for us to make a motion for a recommendation on this?
It is direction from council, and so if you would like to put it in the form of a motion, the chair would entertain that, and that's fine.
Okay. With that, I'd like to make a motion for staff to explore the feasibility for development of the proposed project and the applicants, which are Milliken Museum Society, the San Joaquin Valley Exchange Contractor Water Authority, San Luis and Delta Mendota Water Authority, and the heirs of the Henry Miller project.
Very good. Do I have a second to that motion?
Mr. Mayor, Llamas here. I'll second that.
Thank you. I have a motion, Mayor Pro Tem Lewis, seconded by Councilmember Llamas, to give direction to proceed as laid out regarding the museum project. Roll call, Ms. Maloney?
Jones,
Yes.
Lambert,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lamas,
Yes.
Faria.
Yes, motion carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Hope to see you very soon with more ideas and forward
Thank you,
progress.
Mayor. Thank you, City Council. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you. This is the good stuff. And Mayor Villalta, always a pleasure to see you. We worked together for a very long time, long before we were on council. And it's always good to see you back in Los Banos. Give my regards. Give my regards to that the Windy City.
Invite me to the groundbreaking.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
Good night. With that, we will close item 8. Move on to advisement of public notices. And we have no report tonight. Then we'll move on item 10 and city manager's report. And we go to city manager Pinheiro.
Good evening, Mr. Faria. No report tonight. Excuse me, Mayor Faria. No report.
Thank you, Mr. Pinheiro. And then we go to my report. Merced County Association of Governments had a retreat. Friday night we had dinner. Saturday we spent the day discussing the documents because the charter renewal, foundational documents renewal is due coming up, and the discussion regarding that is up. Also, the discussion regarding the relationship between MCAG and the Regional Waste Authority and whether that stays the way it is or whether the Regional Waste Authority might be given more independence in a different structure because it is such a large entity unto itself. Peninsula Clean Energy, I don't have anything too much specific today except that I saw a fantastically interesting article regarding agrivoltaics. In Colorado, there are solar farms where the farming is going on under the solar panels, and especially in arid areas where the heat is very intense, it actually benefits the crops to have that little bit of shading through the day. So it was very exciting to see how those two can come together. Measure B committee, we just have that position open. Applicants, those people that want to apply for that position, for a position on that committee, please feel free to go to the city website and apply. And that's my report on number 11 tonight. Now we'll go to the city council member reports. Number 12, Mr. Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say that we had a great presentation on this new museum, and I'm looking excited to see this, to have shovels in the ground. I also want to congratulate Mr. Miner on his tenure here and with the fire department here in Los Banos, and congratulating him on his retirement. And that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert. Ms. Lewis?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no report other than to congratulate Mr. Miner on his retirement. It was well deserved, and he has been a great firefighter in our community for many years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Yamas?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just congratulations to Engineer Mike Miner. Thank you very much for your years of service. And I had a question that, well, I'll bring it up after closed session. I'm sorry. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Jones?
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. My report tonight, there's a lot going on. Lots going on in Los Banos. Veterans at the Veterans Memorial Hall this Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're going to have the open house and the ribbon cutting of the Atlas program, the telehealth. This is one of only 12, I believe, in the entire United States where veterans can get telehealth services in this very super high-tech pod. And I will be presenting a proclamation for that, which is a kind of a combination proclamation for Veterans Day, because they couldn't have their parade this year. So this is an event to honor the veterans and allow people to come join them in their celebration. So that's this Saturday, the 20th at 10 a.m. at the Veterans Hall. It'll run till 2. Ducks Unlimited, it's their 50th anniversary. Talking about the history of Los Banos. Duck hunting and Los Banos are synonymous. at the national level. Our grasslands are so important, they were recognized by the United Nations about 40 years ago. So December 10th, and you can get in touch with Paulina's for the dinner at 829-5100. And that's December 10th. That's Friday night at the Community Center. Ducks Unlimited 50th anniversary. Tuesday, November 23rd, we will have the workshop, 4 o'clock. Virtual City Council workshop on how to spend ARPA money. And that's at 4 o'clock, November 23rd. We'll be adjourning to that this evening. Downtown, we got the lighting ceremony on December 2nd and the Christmas parade on December 3rd. So it's an exciting time to be in Los Banos. And with that, we will now move into closed session. Our closed session is a conference with real property negotiations. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8, property is located at 610 Pacheco Boulevard, Los Banos, California, approximately 0.296 acres, ABN 026-121-006. City negotiators, City Manager Pinheiro, City Attorney Juan, Community and Economic Development Director Elms. Negotiating parties, Civil A. Bellotti trustee, and under negotiation, the purchase price and terms of sale. We will report out after closed session. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you go ahead and by motion adjourn to the 23rd so we have that for the record?
Sure, we can do that before the closed session, absolutely. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn to 4 p.m. Tuesday, November 23rd, 2021, to hold a workshop regarding the city's American Rescue Plan Act spending plan, which will be held virtually. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Lewis, so moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Councilmember Lambert.
I got Mr. Lambert first, so I've got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Lewis and a second by Councilmember Lambert to adjourn to 4 p.m. Tuesday, November 23rd, 2021. Roll call, Ms. Maloney.
Jones?
Yes.
Lambert?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Lamas?
Yes.
Faria?
Yes. Motion carried unanimously. Do you want me to announce the meeting adjournment at this time or when we come out, Ms. Maloney?
When you come out of closed session to report, but I just wanted that for the record.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Now we will go into closed session as read. All right, everyone, we've come out of closed session, and our report out is direction to staff with no reportable action. And at that point, then we will adjourn the meeting at 7:20 p.m. Thank you for joining. Good night.